Hold on to your hats, gentlemen. Scientists have made an amazing discovery. No, not life on other planets. No, not the cure to cancer. And no, not flying cars either, even though we've been awaiting that for quite a while now. But instead, scientists have discovered that attractive characters are attractive. Anybody else occasionally get the seemingly mad urge to just go out and burn down every university they come across? No? Just me? Oh. Well, I guess I have to be wrong on some points. New research on female video game characters uncover a surprising twist. Female gamers prefer playing as highly sexualized characters despite disliking them. Breaking news. Women lie. My god, we've made multiple rather remarkable discoveries, haven't we? Okay, so this is actually worth talking about on a little bit of a wider topic here. So we're gonna read through this here. Can strong female characters who is also highly sexualized inspire positive perceptions from players? So this is kind of like the key gist of the idea here. So the article begins with the explaining that the scientists themselves assume that video games are rife with sexism and that this is a terrible thing that must be fixed. Can we fix it by making the highly sexualized characters just really, really powerful? Will that somehow turn them away from being a sexualized character into a good one? Spoiler alert, no. But hey, I suppose, see some sort of logic in that. Not necessarily, according to a new study in communication research. Research found that while strength in a female video game character might signal capability, it doesn't counterbalance the negative impact of sexualization. The negative impact in this case, by the way, being that they look hot. So, why care about sexualization in video games? You shouldn't. This is literally a political trap that a lot of you have fallen for some mysterious reason. The portrayal of female characters in video games has long been a topic of debate. No, it hasn't. It hasn't even been a topic of debate for the last 10 years. Preceding that, there was no topic on this whatsoever. It wasn't even then a topic, it was something forced upon us. All of us were sitting here having fun with our sexy video game characters, and then a bunch of political outsiders like Anita Sarkeesian, famous for I didn't really know a whole lot about video games, come in and go, hey, I see an opportunity to make political hay and money off of this, and so that's what I'm going to do. And welcome to the current year. Critics, crazed leftists, argued that many games excessively emphasize sexual appeal in female characters, potentially reinforcing objectifying views that prioritize appearance over other qualities. Such as... no, unironically, what other qualities beyond appearance are we really looking for in a female video game character? I mean, sure, toss on a personality if you're feeling spicy, a tomboy or something, for example, but by and large, if you're talking about a video game character, them looking pretty is the easiest way to get players to like that character. This has been a rather uncontroversial opinion for the last, 10, 20,000 odd years of human history or so. There's a reason why most of the heroes of antiquity were handsome, rather than, ugly, regular-looking dudes. Weird, I know. Some researchers, however, suggest that the frequent portrayal of female characters as strong and capable might counterbalance the negative impact of sexual objectification. The study's authors aim to understand if such strength cues might actually mitigate negative impressions of sexualized female characters. They also want to explore how the nature of interaction, whether players actively control a character or just observe them on screen, affects these perceptions. I think it is important to understand how gender socialization and prejudice like sexism inform video game development and player experiences, said Teresa Lynch, the author. Now, immediately, Teresa Lynch here enters into the discussion with a bit of a, established worldview already, and is not going to be the most neutral of observers. Sexism pervades gaming, she goes on to say. For example, game content overwhelmingly features male characters to the exclusion of central female or gender minoritized characters. gender minoritized characters. Games that do feature females or gender minoritized characters often unfavorably stereotype and objectify these groups. In online gaming experiences, men and boys target women, girls, and gender minoritized individuals with sexist and harassing communication. Again, being able to fairly accurately determine your political standpoint, I would like to hear exactly what you would consider to be a non-sexist and harassing communication. Is there any form of verbal communication that can occur between a male and a female that is not sexist or harassing? I'm just asking because the last 10 years appear to suggest that there is no such thing, actually, honestly. Okay, let's get on to the experiment. The impact viewing female characters. The first experiment included 239 undergraduate students from the communication program. So, already woke leftists in all due likelihood, with the majority of participants identifying as females. Sigh. Ages varied from 18 to 51, though the group was generally younger. The research created 4 distinct types of female characters using soul caliber. Each character was customized to represent one of 4 combinations of sexualization and strength. High sexualization with high strength, high sexualization with low strength, low sexualization with high strength, and low sexualization with low strength. So, what actually happened then? The results showed distinct patterns in how sexualization and strength cues shaped viewers' impressions of these characters. Characters with high sexualization cues were consistently rated as more sexualized compared to those with low sex appeal. This is some real can turnips feel pain level shit here, by the way, which is, yes, a research that has been carried out. Taxpayer money has been spent in multiple universities, in multiple studies, to try and figure out if plants can somehow feel pain. In Norway, we had a study trying to figure out if fish could feel pain. We did this multiple times. Because the best part even is, when one study arrives at the conclusion that no, plants can't feel pain, another group then goes, hold on, you got funding for that? Yeah. Oh, shit. I smell a loophole. And so it keeps going, but mind-breaking revelations like these besides. Additionally, characters designed with high strength cues were rated as more formidable, aligning with the study's expectations. However, when a character combined high sexualization with high strength, participants perceived her as even more sexualized than a character with high sexualization alone. This outcome indicates that strength cues do not counteract the effects of sexualization, rather they may amplify it. Yes. Dummy mummy. This pattern lines with the fighting fucksoy theory, which suggests that strength paired with sex appeal can reinforce objectifying impressions, heightening perception of the character as a sexualized object. There are so many layers to this, honestly. Firstly, you create a sexualized object, and then you ask, are you sexualizing the object? And people go, yes. And then you scribble in your notebook. Why? How is this the case? Who even knows, frankly? The research also found that high sexualization was a key factor in perceptions of femininity and character likability. Wowzers, bowsers. People like pretty people. Again, somebody paid money for this. Characters with high sexualization were viewed as more traditionally feminine, yet they were also less liked, particularly by female participants. Strength cues, by contrast, did not independently influence likability, suggesting that the perception of likability may be more influenced by sexualization cues than by physical strength. Again, yes, all of this really just boils down to attractive characters are attractive. That is really the final conclusion of this entire thing. But interesting gender-based differences emerge in character preferences. Female participants generally disliked highly sexualized characters, but were more likely to choose characters with high femininity traits, typically associated with higher sexualization cues. So, higher sexualization cues equals a more feminine presenting character, to use the left's terminology here. You know, observable tits, small waist, etc., actually attractive, a bit of a feminist ideal. And then, the less sexualized characters were looking less feminine, and so the women, wanting to pick a character that looked better, picked the sexualized one, whilst claiming that they disliked that character as well. See, here's the thing. This is something that has emerged only over the course of the last literally 10 years. In the entirety of human history, practically, this is a singularity right here, where we have managed to brainwash a substantial portion of the population into thinking that they don't like hot characters. Like, this has not at any point, I am willing to wager, throughout human history been the case. Never before have people tricked themselves into thinking that they don't like what they like. And of course, this is largely performative as well, which is why they feel the urge to say, oh, you know, I don't like that skimpy clothing, but I really hate that androgynous creature. I'd rather play a female, in essence. When given a choice, male participants, on the other hand, gravitate towards characters that were stronger, yet less sexualized, indicating different gender-based preferences in the interpretation of character traits. Meanwhile, the male part of it was just looking at Soul Calibur, the fighting game, and going, I'd like to win. Can I be the strong character, please? I wasn't surprised by the fact that participants in our studies disliked the sexual female character, lynched all psychos. I think especially among younger generations who have grown up with social media and intuitively understand how media perpetuates impossible beauty standards. See my previous mention of how an entire generation has somehow been tricked into hating pretty people. There's increasing scrutiny and critique around sexual objectification. That said, I was surprised to see that in our first study, women still selected the most sexualized character when asked which character they would choose to play. It is important to remember, this character was also rated as the most feminine, so it's possible that women were just selecting the character they most identified with. See, yeah, I don't think that. See, yet again, if one is honest about these things, one will always pick the most attractive character, or the one that aligns the most with one's fetish, I might even say. Whereas, if one is being dishonest due to, I don't know, a massive social media psyop, for example, indicating that you shouldn't like this, liking this makes you a bad person, you are a terrible human being if you like this, then you might say publicly that you don't like it, whilst in reality, you do because you're human. However, this finding highlights why research is so important. Then it's continued. If women are conflating sexual appeal with femininity, then they can disassociate those two concepts. And if entertainment media, like video games, continue to portray female characters by emphasizing sex appeal, how does that shape expectations of women and women's value in society? Perhaps you should take a moment out of your highly important and valuable research and look into video games recently, because video games don't really feature a whole lot of sexualized characters anymore. In fact, the very idea of a sexual character has become somewhat taboo. We are no longer objectifying women, and it has led to a generation of very unhappy people who are now rebelling against this worldview on every single one of those social media platforms where you believe that you had, largely gained power. Building these findings, the researchers conducted a second experiment to assess whether controlling a character rather than passively viewing would affect participants' perception. This experiment involved 438 undergraduate students following a similar design with the same 4 character types as the first experiment. However, instead of watching pre-recorded clips, participants played as one of the 4 character types in a live, simulated combat session. They connected to the internet and played the PvP video game. Each participant was assigned to one of the characters type and played for 10 minutes, aiming to defeat an opponent character. The research provided basic instruction on gameplay mechanics and controls before the session began. I find it amusing that these people didn't know what Soul Calibur was. Following this interaction, participants completed a survey similar to those in the first experiment. These measures were introduced to assess perception of personhood. So, the second experiment revealed additional insight, particularly around the impact of strength cues when the participant actively controlled the character. Participants rated higher strength characters as less traditionally feminine, a perception that became more pronounced when participants directly controlled the character. This finding suggests that interacting with a formidable character can make players view them as less aligned with stereotypical femininity. That and the fact that Soul Calibur tends to have decided character moves, so I wouldn't be particularly surprised if they had picked a male character move for the female. At least that's how the character customization used to work. Strength cues also influence participants' perceptions of warmth and competence. Characters with high strength were rated as more competent, suggesting an association between physical capability and perceived efficiency. Plants feel pain! However, these same characters were rated as less warm, indicating that formidable characters may be seen as less friendly or approachable in a fighting video game. This finding implies that while physical strength can enhance a character's perceived capabilities, it may also create an impression of them as more distant or unapproachable. This entire study is just... It literally is arriving at the conclusion that water is indeed wet. A 5-minute conversation with literally anyone would already have illuminated all of these points. Key takeaways. The finding highlight that playing a video game positions people with a different orientation to the content on screen, Lynch told PsyOp. It can involve you in a way that simultaneously makes you feel like you're part of the content and game, that you are the character. So if you are a character that has attributes that you appreciate and enjoy embodying, then you probably will experience some positive outcomes and interpret the experience similar. And our final and third groundbreaking realization is that engaging with an interactive medium is different from engaging with a non-interactive medium. This is our new generation of scientists. There's a reason why science was explosively advancing, why everything was getting more advanced, and why in the, late 90s, we were convinced that we'd have flying cars by now. It was because we were being pushed forward by a generation of people who were genuinely driven, incredibly intelligent, sharp, and motivated, actual scientists. The reason why we don't have flying cars is because now we have studies like these that come to the correct conclusion at the very least, that attractive characters are attractive, that strong characters are strong, and that a video game is not a movie. Oh my Jesus. And the worst part is, this is even out of date by today's standard. This is not a study based on observable reality as it is today. This is not a study based upon how you can see gaming today, right? Hell, even Soul Calibur. Let me check now. Let's see. Soul Calibur. When was that? Oh yeah, there we go. 2018. So we are looking at a video game from, 6 years ago? To determine what people like today. We're not even in the true period of feminist decline here. This is more along the lines of somebody seeing Anita Sarkeesian video from 10 years ago and thinking, I see, I should conduct a scientific study on this, and then arriving at conclusions that they don't expect, because they exist in a world that is already seemingly defeating the point of their research. If you enter into this with the assumption that people don't like sexualized characters, because that's what social media has attempted rather desperately to convince them of, against their better knowledge and nature, then yeah, you're going to be rather surprised when people are honest with you because it's a study and go, yeah, no, I actually find the female character that looks like a woman to be more feminine. This is another reason, by the way, why video gaming sucked so much, because people like these were probably actually advising these video games. They were lending the air of intelligentsia to the commentaries and the critiques of, again, blast from the past, Anita Sarkeesian there. They didn't just come out of nowhere and claim these things. They pretended to have, actual intellectual backing and studies that they could then present to these companies. And being companies, and thus quite retarded, they didn't take a moment to pause, look at them and go, this doesn't make any sense, and simply just ran with it. Luckily, we are beginning to wake up a little bit more today, but the very fact that studies like these are still being ran indicates to me that we are still going to see a fair bit of this idiocy going forward. But luckily, the people in charge, hopefully, are starting to take notice and won't be tricked quite so easily the next time. We can but hope. But yeah, this is the reason why we don't have flying cars, folk. This is the reason. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.